Well, hello, this is Jeff Gaudiosi, and you're on MisplacedStraws.com, where music comes to life. And my guest today is simply a legend. He's best known for his work as a founding member of Toto, but he's been responsible for some of the most enduring music of the last 50 years through his work with people like Boz Scaggs, Michael Jackson, Aretha Franklin, and so many others. He's about to release his first ever solo record called Forgotten Toys on August 19th. I'm just humbled to welcome David Paich. Welcome, David.
Welcome, everyone.
So, Forgotten Toys, your first solo work. You've been pretty busy the past 50 years or so. With Toto as your main outlet and all of your other projects, did you ever have a desire to do a solo record?
I never really did, because Toto it was a vehicle for my songs. It satisfied me. I got all the satisfaction I needed from doing a solo album on working with my mates in Toto, doing our band records. I got to sing occasionally. I got to write some of the songs. I got to help co-produce. And it was very much a very full life being with Toto and making records with him.
Yeah. So, and I assume by the name of this record, Forgotten Toys, that these are kind of songs or ideas that have been around for a bit. Were any of these ever in play for Toto and just didn't work out? I mean, what's the history behind some of these songs?
Well, after we finished the Fib album, Falling in Between, I started writing. That's when I started writing of All the Tears That Shine on the last day of mixing for that album there. Mm-hmm. So that I've had that intro to that song and the first verse for quite a few years, and then I finished it up with Michael Sherwood, who unfortunately passed away this last year. So I wanted to bring out his original vocal that was in it again, because it was such a special performance. I wanted everybody to hear it and to hear the song totally stripped down, so it's not doesn't have a lot of layering and production on it. It's just Davy Johnston from Elton John's band plays on it.
Oh wow!
But I think the vocal performance is the one that's very, very special about this. That's why I included it on the record.
And was there anything on Forgotten Toys when you were going through and finding these songs? Was there anything that you were surprised to find that you had just forgotten about, and all of a sudden there it is?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, most of it. I had Lucy for a while because I was trying to do a duo album with Mike Lang, session legend Mike Lang, and we started an album. And then we both got busy, and it never came to fruition. So I decided to put it on my record, and I added James Torme, the son of the great Mel Torme, on scatting vocals on that, just to bring a little reunion back to our fathers and our heritage here, in honor of our fathers. My father was Marty Paich, who was a arranger for Mel Torme and many other people. So, yes, these were totally pleasant surprises, starting with that one. And I can tell you a story about, each one has a story in its own way,
Well, you mentioned some of the people that you brought in to work on this record, and as somebody who's been called in to do so much studio work over the years, was it weird to be the guy calling other people to come guest on your record?
It was not weird at all, because most of them are very close, dear friends that I keep in touch with, and it was just awesome having them come and play on my solo record. People like Steve Jordan, who played on Queen Charade. He played on my track and joined the Stones a week later. So you know how good a drummer he is. And also Steve Lukather played guitar on that, rhythm guitar. and I was lucky enough to get Don Felder to play slide guitar on it, Eagle member, and he was incredible on it. So Nathan East played bass. He's a very good friend of mine. Greg Bissonette on drums, very good friend in Ringo's band. And I think Nathan's out with Clapton right now. And who else did I bring? Davey Johnston from Elton John's band played on All the Tears That Shine. And Lenny Castro, of course, is all over the album. And Mike McDonald sings on, does some step outs on Spirit of the Moonrise, which I was very fortunate to get him. He's a dear friend for many years. And I'd worked on his record, and he came to return the favor. So it's a lot of love and a lot of long friendships behind this casting.
Well, that's what I mean. Does it even seem like work when you're just surrounded by all of your friends and you guys are making music? You know, it seems like after all of these years, does it ever get old just making music with your friends like that?
I can honestly say it does not get old for me, and I've heard these songs thousands of times, and it does not get old because when I invite your friends in, I remember making our demos to get our deal with Toto. This was the vibe that you had when friends would come in to validate what we had done, and we'd bring friends over to listen and just give us suggestions and give us the thumbs up or the thumbs down. And fortunately, it was thumbs up with all this material, and it's so much fun. We really shouldn't be paid, but we do get paid because we have bills like everybody else does. Yes. But it feels so much like fun. It's hard to think of it as work.
And now with this record coming out on August 19th, within the past year now, you, Luke, and Joe have all put out solo records and have all kind of played on each other's records. Do you guys kind of see the future being sort of these solo projects where you all work together as opposed to another official Toto record?
That's a very good question. We're just taking it a day at a time here. And trying to get through, obviously, the COVID nightmare, and, which has kept people separated here for so long. And thanks to technology, we're able to communicate over Zoom and other apps that help us record directly for each other. But getting back to what you were saying, I guess someone could look at that from that point of view through that lens. That this is the beginnings of another Toto record. But I think we're going to keep doing solo records for the time being until because Toto right now is myself, Joe Williams, and Steve Lukather, along with the Dogs from Oz band that has been put together so intricately.
And if we can, let's kind of take a look through your career a bit and bring up songs or artists and kind of let me know, what it means to you looking back on it, what kind of memories you have. And, first off, of course, Lido Shuffle, the great Silk Degrees record from Boz Scaggs. So the record that really kind of almost kicked it all off. What do you think about that now, looking back in the 50 years since then?
I think about how grateful I am to Jeff Porcaro for introducing me to Boz Scaggs, who was going to wanted to co-write his next album, which I got to do with him. I look back at some of what we were in the moment. We were at the top of our game with me, myself, David Hungate, and Jeff, along with Louis Shelton, the Seals and Crofts producer. And it just looks like a dream. It was kind of like a dream come true. You do so many albums, but none of them make quite the impact sometimes that you think they're going to have. And this album just went all the way, and we had the hit Lowdown from it, which was kind of modern and jazzy, and it had Lido Shuffle on it, and So I think that was due in part to help launching Toto. After that, we'd toured with Boz Scaggs too, and taken some of this material out. So we were feeling our oats and feeling quite confident that we could do our own music. And that's when we launched Toto. You know, I wanted to bring up the other two former sessions that I would tribute my learning curve, my learning process to producing and making records. Was I worked with Seals and Crofts, the great Jimmy Seals, who just passed.
Yeah, just recently.
My first hit record I played on was Diamond Girl, and I was 18 years old. And I played with Steely Dan. I worked on some of their records also. So between the two artists, I would say they laid the groundwork for Toto as far as how focused and how intricate and fine tuning what all those characteristics are all about to making records.
Yeah, and then as you kind of had that background and Toto started, you were still doing a lot of other projects. And I think one track that people probably wouldn't associate with you is Got to Be Real from Cheryl Lynn. I mean, how did you and David Foster end up writing one of the great disco songs?
David Foster and I, and along with Cheryl Lynn, Cheryl and I got together when they called my father to co-produce her first album, and I got to co-produce it with my father. And I was in the Sunset Sound one day, and David Foster just happened to be in the next room. I think he was either with the Average White Band or some other great act he was producing. But he came in the room, and I played him a little bit of this, and he just added this little B section, this transition thing that went from the verse to the chorus, and it just made the whole song come together.
And
he's a close friend, by the way, I want to add.
He actually was just here in Connecticut about a week or so ago playing.
Was there?
So, yep, still on the road.
Did you see his show?
I didn't get to. My parents went and absolutely loved it.
I did too. It was spectacular. I mean, some of the greatest singers I've ever heard in my life were with him, and he just has a beautiful legacy, you know.
And speaking of legacy, I mean, 1982 was a career-defining year for you with Toto 4 and Thriller. And, you know, with Thriller, you did the arrangements for The Girl Is Mine, the duet with Paul McCartney. And Quincy Jones and Michael Jackson had such a clear vision for Thriller. I mean, did you feel pressure of not only meeting their vision, but doing it with a Beatle?
I was a little bit nervous because whenever you are working with a Beatle, it's like rarefied air. You know, those are true legends and stars and talent, gigantic talents. And McCartney's one of my heroes. So there was it was a pinch me moment for sure when I walked in the room. But right after that, we had to buckle down and get the song done. So it was a little bit of work and pleasure, but definitely one of the highlights of my career.
And was working on that what led to your involvement in We Are the World?
It may have. I'm not sure if that was based on that decision. I know that I was in Quincy's camp, as we call it. I was one of his keyboard players that he would constantly use. So when it came to, I think he had heard Africa and liked it, the feel, the vibe of it. So he wanted a little of that sprinkled onto We Are the World. So I did a little bit of a kalimba kind of sound in one of the verses, and one of the choruses, I think. So that may have led to that, but I can't answer for sure.
Well, and you mentioned Africa, and Toto 4 was the other kind of bookend in 1982. And, you know, I've talked with Luke a couple of times, and he has a pretty complicated relationship with Africa due to, you know, just the lawsuits and the non-musical stuff. But as the writer and vocalist of that song, I mean, what's your feeling of that song and just the whole second life it has taken on in the past 10 years or so.
Yeah, it's really just been a miraculous. The longevity has been to me unbelievable, and I attribute it to artists covering it. A lot of different artists have covered it, and Weezer covered it. It's spiked up, and that was really good for the song. They really did a great job on it, by the way. It's one of those X variables where you go, I understand Rosanna being a hit, and I understand I Won't Hold You Back, but Africa was kind of 11th hour song for me and the band, and we kind of like, well, this is a little extra song now that we have the album together. So it was a pleasant surprise for everybody.
And that was, as we just said, such a busy year with so much going on, and the band made the decision to not tour for Toto 4. And it was almost like, looking back now with the benefit of time and hindsight, that was kind of a career-defining decision, as you weren't really able to capitalize on the weight of Toto 4.
Yeah.
I mean, looking back now, do you kind of say, well, yeah, if we toured that, things would have been a lot different?
Yeah, I do have moments when I look back on it and think about decisions we should have made. And I remember at the time, though, we'd been working so much that the band needed a break. And also, we had been offered the movie Dune to do the music for. So we had a project in the making here. But I think, and technology was changing a lot, too, especially in the keyboard area. Being able to take stuff and recreate it on the road. I mean, we were using everything in the studio we could possibly use to make our records. We're doing overdubs, but to pull that off live and make it sound right, it was really a technical achievement to try and do that in those days, because since we're moving along at such a rate, MIDI was just coming in, and also there wasn't vocal harmonizers and different methods of presenting vocals, and we just didn't feel we had our live act together to just jump out on the road then from that album right there. So we wanted to take our time and build our touring show up, and which took some time to do.
And over the past few years, you've served as the musical director for Toto. You've popped on stage when they've done the LA shows. And if I can ask, how's your health these days? And do you ever see yourself going on the road again in a larger capacity?
It's good. My health is very good. I train. I have a trainer 3 days a week, and I swim every other day. And it's actually been really good, considering I'm an old fart right now. So it's been really good, and it's helped me mentally, and it's been a big healing element to me to be the MD, to keep my whole foothold in Toto, where I'm helping out pick the songs as well as help rehearse the band. So it's a great life I have. And I'm thank God I went through a bad patch and came out on the other side.
Do you ever think that even maybe for Forgotten Toys that you'll do a couple of shows just to get these songs on the stage at some point?
I've thought about it, but I get cold feet about performing live, especially my own stuff there. So it may happen in time, but it's not for any time in the near future.
And for me, when people talk about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and who's in it and who's not, for me, I think Toto is probably one of the biggest snubs ever. Have you ever given, I know you guys are in the Musicians Hall of Fame, and rightfully so, have you ever given any thought about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and Toto's position in it?
Occasionally we do that. and occasionally, but we don't have much credence, you know what I mean? Because everybody seems to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and I think that when we turned down the cover to Rolling Stone in 1983, I think that stuck in their craw a little bit, and they haven't forgiven us yet, I don't think, for that. But, you know, there's other bands that should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that aren't as well, you know what I mean? So we understand that, and that's just an elite award and everything like that. We know in our own minds that we're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame of our own, so it doesn't bother us too much.
One thing, too, I would love to get your view on, and I've talked to a lot of musicians, you know, that were in various 80s bands, and, you know, a lot of them, you know, get a little miffed with the term hair metal because they feel it's kind of derogatory to what they did.
Yeah.
You guys are, you know, whenever anyone now uses the term yacht rock, it's like Toto's the poster child for it.
I know.
You know, I mean, do you have any thoughts on the term yacht rock? I mean, is it something you guys are just like, hey, as long as people are listening to our music, call it whatever you want? Or? When it first came out, Yacht Rock was doing spoofs on Toto and spoofs on Kenny Loggins. So it makes me laugh when I hear the term yacht rock because it's just a category that someone made up that exemplifies, I don't know, sounds of the early 80s, you know. I can't put the finger on exactly what binds it together, but it's very amusing to me. Well, we have been spending some time here just with the amazing David Paich. His first ever solo record is called Forgotten Toys. It's out everywhere August 19th. It's a great record. It's classic David Paich when you listen to it. There's no denying that. So, David, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. It really has been amazing getting to spend some time with you.
Well, thank you very much, and I really appreciate you interviewing me. And I also want to say how much we appreciate and are grateful to all of our fans, friends, and family that have supported us and been loyal through all these years. Thank you, everybody.
Well, thank you for all the music, David. We'll talk again soon.
Thanks so much. It was great.
Thanks. Bye.